So, hi guys, my name is Edwin Mungai. This is a continuation of the last video we did on risk assessment. So today I really wanted us to talk about the risk criteria. So as part of doing risk assessment, you need to have a risk criteria that acts as a reference for identifying the criticality of the risk, or what is the level of the risk. So that's what you're going to do today. So by the end of the video, I would like us to understand how to create a risk criteria and also understand how to use one. So when you're thinking about a risk criteria, so the first thing you have to think about is identifying the likelihood and the impact of risk. Because when you're actually now trying to find the level of risk, the level of risk is actually the likelihood multiplied by the impact. So it's the likelihood multiplied by the impact. So the first thing you need to do is now come to the likelihood. So when you're talking about likelihood, likelihood is the frequency of an event happening. So it defines the frequency. So when you're looking at likelihood, you'll find that it's actually divided into 5 levels. And these levels, you have the liberty of choosing how you're going to name them, as well as how you're going to describe them. Now, when you're looking at the different levels, one of the things that you need to consider is how long do your operations last. So if you're maybe in an industry where one project may take up to 10 years, then the frequency, this one, will have to capture based on how long your projects take. So if a lot of your projects usually take 6 months, 6 to 12 months, then of course it has to be reflected here. So then that means when you're looking at the criteria, it's really custom made to the context of every organization. And you cannot just go on the internet and download a criteria and start using it. You actually have to put some work into it. So now let's go into the risk likelihood. So when you're looking at the risk likelihood, you'll find that at level 5 we have almost certain. And for us, what we've said, at almost certain, it's a frequency of at least happens once every 0 to 6 months. And then likely happens once every 6 to 12 months, and so on, up to 5 to 10 years. So this one would be for an organization whose operations take quite some time. So now that is the likelihood. So the next thing you go to is the risk impact. So what we usually advise our clients to do is actually divide the different, divide into the impact into columns based on the different categories of impact. So when you're talking about impact, you could talk about financial impact, operational impact, reputational, legal and regulatory, and occupational health and safety and environment. So just like likelihood, the impact is actually divided into 5 levels, and this is what I've named my levels. There is catastrophic, major, moderate, minor, insignificant. So now it's for you to actually come and define what catastrophic means. So catastrophic means in financial terms. So maybe catastrophic could be 50% of your revenue, right? Depending on your risk appetite, or it could be 10% of your revenue. So this actually really is dependent on your appetite. So then you define what major means in terms of financial, and you continue like that. Then you come to, let's say, reputational, right? So maybe catastrophic for you would be having negative international and local, reputational damage, right? So, or it could be, and then maybe minor would be just negative local information being spread out. So you need to make sure you define what that would mean. Then of course, occupational health and safety and also environment, you could mean catastrophic could be the death of someone. Then major would be, injury. So just come here and fill out for each column what each of these level means. So now you've completed the risk likelihood and you've completed the risk impact. Now the next thing you need to come and do is now calculate the level of risk. And that is now why we have a heat map, right? So this risk heat map helps you now to calculate the level. As we said, the level is the likelihood multiplied by the impact, right? So you come and find, so for a certain risk that was identified, so the likelihood was, an example would be possible. So it's level 3 when it comes to likelihood. So it's here. when it comes to likelihood, it's on level 3. Then on impact, let's say it is a reputational impact and it is moderate. So still level 3 on impact. So you come here and then you just come and link them together. And where they link, then that is your level. So that means this risk is level 9. So what does level 9 mean? So if you, as part of your risk criteria, you need to come and define what these different levels mean. So level 9 is between 5 and 9. So this is a medium risk, right? So what you do is, now that you've identified it's a medium risk, then you need to also have, as part of your criteria, something called a risk acceptance criteria that defines what we will be doing with each of these risks. So what should we do when we have an extreme risk? What should we do when we have a high risk? And what should we do when we have a medium risk? And what should we do when we have a low risk? So you need to come up with a recommended action. So it could be that when you have an extreme risk, right, then that has to be escalated to top management, and top management has to be involved, and it has to be acted immediately. And let's say an example when it comes to low risk could be, maybe that is a risk that we need to accept, and we don't need to put mitigation measures to treat that risk. So you need to come up with a recommended action for all these levels, and that forms your risk acceptance criteria. Now with that, I'd like to thank you for all of you who gave us feedback on our last video. I hope now this way of doing videos is also good for you. Give us more feedback on this video, and I hope to see you in the next video. So bye.